Fighting Vipers. Pretty similar to Virtua Fighter in many aspects. You got 3 buttons: punch, kick, and guard. It's pretty easy to understand what punch and kick do. Guard is its own dedicated button, but more on that later. Punching and kicking are pretty straightforward. You do a little jab when you press punch once, and you do a high kick when you press kick once. Like pretty much all 3D fighters, you have 3 different heights of attack: high, mid, and low. Just like Virtua Fighter, everyone has a generic middle attack of sort: the elbow and the middle kick. To do the elbow, you simply press forward plus punch. To do the middle kick, you press down forward plus kick. You get throws by pressing punch and guard at the same time. Other combined inputs like punch and kick and guard, or even all 3 are usually character-specific moves. There are pursuit attacks, or as I like to call them, pounces. They pretty much work the same as VF. Stomps are also a thing. Though, missing a pursuit attack is way more punishing than in VF. I mean, look at this shit. And if you're a VF player that follows the rock, paper, scissors rule very religiously, let's just say that the strike beats throw rule is a little bit skewed. Like a lot of fighting games at the time, there was counter hit damage. They carry the usual benefits: more damage, more hit stun, or with certain moves, more juggle opportunities. Post-recording moment, I guess. I forgot to mention back attacks. Really not much to say here, other than that some characters can continue strings from the back, some don't. Yeah. There are no turn attacks like in VF, but some throws will turn you around, and you gotta act quick. This one will probably scare you if you're not in the know, you know. Feel free to skip if you already know. Punch, kick, and guard are abbreviated P, K, and G. That's simple. As for directional inputs, people like to use the number notations. You know, those inputs that's basically just a numpad. Though, no one's stopping you from using letter notations, like U is up, B is back, F is forward, stuff like that. It's fine as long as you know what the numbers mean. So one small VF quirk is the ability to cancel attacks with the guard button. Characters with a generic high kick are able to cancel it with the guard button. Even the high kick from the punch kick string is cancelable. As far as its use in Virtua Fighter itself, it sort of acts as it's supposed to make the opponent think that you're going to do a string or something. That'll make him guard up, and gives him an opportunity to throw. It's pretty cool. I see quite a lot of it in BF4 tournaments especially. You can even use the guard button to cancel strings. Sort of as like some kind of reset, especially for pre-canned combo strings. This should be simple. Hold forward or back and you'll do a little shuffle. Hold down to crouch. You can hold down forward or down back to crawl. Double tap forward or back to dash. Do a quick tap up to hop. Hold up longer to do a moon jump. Ah yes, the early 3D moon jumps everyone glad they got rid of. But they're not bad here. This is like 1 out of 4 3D fighters where they're actually useful. A lot of good moves are tied to jumps, though they're also universal techniques, so a lot of them are generic, but still good. The best of these in my opinion is the generic moon jump kick. They might as well be a quick draw.
Ooh!
Even though this is a 3D game, there are no side steps. And to be fair, the only 3D fighter that had him was like Soul Edge, and it's just a sign of the times. I forgot about this. There's running attacks. Some running attacks are specific to some characters. There are a lot of universal ones. Yeah, it's pretty simple. And also, you can run. Did I also mention that? Oops. It helps to edit. You can block by simply holding G. Wanna block low? Hold down while holding G. You get no chip damage if you get hit. You can guard while crouching, but it won't save you from everything. Just like in most 3D fighters, mid attacks can force you out of crouching even when you're holding guard. When you're on the ground, all you can do is get up before you get stomped, pounced, or worse, thrown. Recovery is a bit simpler than your VS or Tekkens. Just tap in any of the 4 directions you want to roll towards. Up to roll in the background, down to roll in the foreground, forward and back to, you know. Rolling forward is probably the safest option if you don't want to get pounced. And if you want to get back up and place faster, pressing punch will do the trick. There are no wake-up kicks in this game. You pretty much have to think of which direction you want to best roll in. Or you can mash for the generic jump kick when they least suspect it. As I said before, PNG at the same time as a general throw button. I believe this is the second fighting game in existence where the throws have an actual animation that can be whiffed. The first being Tekken 1, to my knowledge. For some stupid reason, the whiff throw animation is also a strike when done from far away. I don't know why it's like this, and it's a little dumb, so you gotta be really close to your opponent to get the throw. But P plus G alone is to throw your opponent towards the wall, if your character has a throw like this. I think whatever direction they go in depends on the character you're playing as. And of course, you have your throws with specific inputs depending on the character. And as far as I've tested, you can't break throws. The newest feature that many 3D fighters would take and expand upon: walls, cages, wall juggles, cage throws, cage climbing. And man, wall juggles do a ton, and it makes Jin and Bon absolute monsters. No such ring outs or infinite stages, all cages all the time. The game encourages aggression, since you're basically stuck in a box. Another unique feature is armor. Every match, characters start off with full armor. See that green body next to the life bar? It's your armor gauge. Armor can be broken from the top half to the bottom half. If one half or both flashes, it means it's close to breaking. Red means you're broken, and that armor stays broken for the rest of the match. While guarding, you don't take chip damage, but that's not to say your armor gauge won't get affected. Certain moves can break armor more easily than others, and characters have different armor values, meaning that some can have stronger armor than others. So, what happens when you lose all your armor? Well, you take more damage in general, but you're also faster and stronger. And if that's all you want, you can break it immediately with a special input. You can even do it in the air. And like I said, it stays broken for the rest of the match. And speaking of breaking, how do you go about breaking armor in this game? Well... there are specific moves that everyone has that can break armor easily. These are armor breaking moves. You know, that unique mechanic that every in-game move list failed to specify. It's these moves when your character starts flashing. A whole lot of them differ with each character, instead of them being really broken. There's a special type of armor break, guard and attack. They do the usual armor break, but at the same time guards you during its startup animation. You can tell it apart from the other armor breaks with all the extra flashes surrounding the character. These moves seem broken at first, but they can still be interrupted. One aims higher mid, just do a quick low. And of course, stupid shit like countering a GNA with another one can still happen. I thought about putting air recoveries in the defense section, but I feel like they play more an important role in combos more than any other. As you get launched, you can recover while airborne. You can recover in 3 directions: up, back, or forwards. You can perform your air attacks and air grabs if you can. While it's nice to recover in the air, you're still in the air, and your opponent can still catch you. So you gotta be careful on where you recover, or whether the recovery is worth doing at all. Combos aren't too hard to get started on like VF around this time. The game was intended to be easier with juggles, but keeping up with longer juggles can be quite the task, but a rewarding one. Juggles can be pretty tough, unless you expect your opponent to recover in the air willy-nilly, making life easier on yourself. And that is the end of part 1. I'll be covering the second game a lot more with its unique mechanics and substantial differences from the first game. Who is this game for? If you want something a little bit more frantic and stupider than VF, then you have your zany characters with mainly zany moves, with some VF basics. Really good if you want something with the ouch factor cranked up to the extreme. Where to play offline? Well, tons of versions of FE1 are perfectly emulatable. You can play the original Model 2 version on the Model 2 emulator. And there's also the Saturn version, which is probably the best version with the most feature-rich stuff. For one, it's got a training mode, which even VF2 didn't have, and still doesn't. Even the 2012 re-release still doesn't have a training mode. I played a Saturn port on the SSF emulator, but Manafin can work pretty well for you if you got a decent enough computer. The PSN re-release is also perfectly playable on our PCS3. The online might be playable, but I never tried it. Though, it won't have rollback. You know, which is sad, but what can you do? BF2 and Final Showdown are playable on the emulator, so who knows, maybe it is. And maybe the Sega Ages version might be good, but it doesn't really have all the features as a Saturn. And also emulating that version is not advisable at all. And you can play in Sega's Judgment and Lost Judgment for the PlayStation 4, but that's just a 2012 re-release. Did I also mention that there's Discord? It's been up for a while. It's not the most active in the world, but people will answer. As for why I'm making these videos, I'll explain that later as a closer to all this.